podcast, I have a We Are the They member, a good friend of mine, the man that did my Zen garden, but also the guy that was hired to pave over Charlie Kirk's murder scene. So we got a very fascinating human being, Mr. Dan Merrill. Dude, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Let's just kind of cover this Charlie Kirk stuff first.
Okay.
And then I want to kind of get into more of your story and some of the stuff like that. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast, I mean, it's just fascinating. That was probably one of the 3 or 4 most impactful moments of our lives as far as, you know, a national event goes. And you got thrust right into the middle of it.
Yeah.
So what exactly was your role? What happened? How did that all come about for you to be the person they called? I mean, I think, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, you haven't really told your story, but you've been getting a lot of like death threats and people that think you're part of the conspiracy. And I just wanted to kind of really get into how that all happened for you.
Sure. Well, so interestingly enough, I came and met with you about your Zen garden. That was right when it happened. I was on my way back to my shop in Provo, and I saw 6 different precincts flying past me in the commuter lane.
What did Charlie find out? Charlie found something out. That's it, guys. Charlie found something out, and it cost him his life. That's the truth. Okay. Charlie knew something, and whatever it is big and it is ugly. And deep down, I think we know what it is. I think we all kind of know what it is. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say.
Candace Owens just connected a detail that nobody was supposed to pay close attention to, and now that the landscaper hired to pave over the area where Charlie Kirk was shot is speaking out publicly, the entire story is looking considerably less random and considerably more deliberately managed than anyone initially framed it. What was presented as routine site maintenance is now generating a much darker and much more specific question. Why was there such an aggressive rush to alter and cover that specific location? And why do critics believe that TPUSA money may have been quietly used to make that happen before too many people started asking too many questions that nobody in the official narrative wanted answered? The strangest element of the Charlie Kirk case at this point is no longer even the shooting itself. It is the specific and documented sequence of decisions made in the immediate aftermath. According to Candace Owens, the moment Charlie died, the focus shifted with remarkable speed from grief to control of the physical scene, control of the public narrative, and control of what questions the public was and was not supposed to be asking.
Fast forward, I'm at home with my family, and I get a call, and I don't answer my phones on Sunday. They left a message, and the gentleman said, hey, you know, this is kind of weird, and he was kind of hemming and hawing on the phone.
This was 5 days later then?
Yes,
You said it was on this Sunday? Okay.
Yeah, on Sunday. And he says, we've got a paver emergency. I'm like, the hell is
when the hell's a paver emergency?
Exactly, right? I'm thinking, this guy's, what the hell? You know, so anyways, I wasn't going to even respond because I don't typically do that. But I'm like, paver emergency. You know, part of my MO is I like to be useful, you know, where I can be help, you know. So I texted the guy, I said, look, I don't work on Sundays. My guys don't work on Sundays. You know, I'm happy to call you on Monday. What's a paver emergency?
And now a landscaper is speaking out about the day he was called in to help pave over the exact location where Charlie was killed. Not weeks later, not after any formal investigative process had concluded, but almost immediately. And once people started looking into who approved that work and where the money allegedly funding it came from, Erica Kirk's name started appearing in the center of the conversation again with renewed and specific force. The landscaper, Dan Merrill, says he received a strange emergency call on a Sunday. At first, he assumed it was standard construction work, an unexpected job that needed quick turnaround, nothing unusual about that in his line of work. But then photographs were sent to him, photographs showing the specific area of Charlie Kirk's murder scene that he was being asked to cover. And he was told the paving needed to be completed and finished by Monday. That specific timeline, the Sunday emergency call, the Monday completion deadline, the urgency around a job being fast-tracked at what should have been a period of active investigation is what set social media on absolute fire.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it.
I can't. I cannot. I am not capable of whatever that. When I saw this, I realized I do not know enough words. I had to consult a thesaurus, and I still could not land upon the correct adjective to describe how I felt when I saw that tent. The people taking selfies under a recreation. I don't know if it's actually the tent. It looks like it's pretty old, or a tent that Charlie died under. That's what was happening at AmFest. Horrified. I was aghast. I don't think I ever described myself as aghast. I was aghast. It was ghastly to look at that and to realize that they made a conscious decision to allow that to happen. To what end?
Because people immediately started asking why there was any urgency at all to alter a location that should have been preserved and documented as potential evidence. And then Dan revealed a detail that made everything significantly more alarming. The dirt had already been excavated before he arrived. Approximately 10 inches of material reportedly removed from the area before his crew ever got there. The paving job he was called to complete was not the beginning of the site alteration. It was the final step of a process that had already been underway. That specific detail transformed how people were interpreting the situation, because it suggested pre-planning and organized execution rather than a spontaneous or impulsive decision to clean up a difficult location. Dan Merrill says he originally dismissed the conspiracy theories surrounding his involvement. He believed he was simply completing a job that someone above his pay grade had already approved and initiated. But over time, he admitted that certain things stopped making sense to him, particularly after he began reviewing publicly available footage connected to the case and hearing the specific questions people were raising about the physical evidence and the timeline of what happened at Utah Valley University.
This is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
No, and I know you're going to keep saying that, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I know that.
No, I know.
And I know there's probably no magic string of words that I could piece together to procure some type of answer, but
Yeah.
I think on a surface level, like, I'm not going to walk out of here until I say my piece. Like, I mean, y'all know this. I just worked a series of 80, 90-hour weeks plus for AmFest.
Yeah, I think
I've had no direction or explanation since we've come back. Our CEO has been assassinated. I've done nothing but been backwards for this organization, to the point where I'm wondering if this is a prank.
It's not a prank. I would never do that.
So I'm just trying to understand. And
No, I understand. It's time to...
so do I get to have a conversation with Dylan? Do I get to have a conversation with Justin or anybody, or
Nope.
no? And there's no explanation as to why I'm going to let go.
Right now, we're leaving all...
You know, and you're going to keep saying a different direction, but I'm trying to understand how I've met multiple times with my...
We're going a different direction with the team, and I have to ask you to leave now.
You have to ask me to leave the property?
Yes,
Due to what, Frank?
because we're asking you to leave because you've been terminated and we're not.
But there's no explanation or documentation for this. I've never had one bad review from Dylan. I've never had one issue with the company. I've never done anything unethical. And so I'm sitting here understanding why my entire livelihood is being completely tossed out. I mean, I sat in
No,
this chair.
you're gonna do great things.
No, and I
Your
plan
livelihood-
to.
I don't think your livelihood is being tossed out. I think you're very successful.
Well, my paycheck every other week is being tossed out, Frank, with absolutely no warning whatsoever.
I understand. At this time, it's time for you to do.
It's time for me to go. Why? Like this is the
because
treatment that Turning Point is offering now.
It's time to go.
Frank, this is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do. This feels very heartless. This feels without emotion.
I do understand where you're coming from.
This feels completely without emotion.
I understand where you're coming from.
USA did a massive purge of employees a few days ago, or at the end of, I guess, last week, you could say. What did you hear about that purge?
I heard there were 30 to 40 people purged, that they were looking for the leak. They knew there are leaks out of TPUSA. They are terrified of these leaks because of what TPUSA has been up to. And rather than try to be an honest organization, it's just, let's get rid of all the people we think might be disclosing that we're a dishonest organization.
Those specific concerns started resonating with observations he had made of himself about the site. This is where Candace stepped in with the full force of her sustained investigation, because Candace wasn't focused only on the cleanup itself in isolation. She was focused on what the cleanup represented as part of a broader and more systematic pattern: the timing, the operational speed, the silence that surrounded it, and what she describes as a consistent and observable priority among people connected to Erica to move forward rather than slow down and ask uncomfortable questions about what actually happened. That is the specific and central criticism Candace keeps returning to. Not that individual decisions were made under pressure or grief, but that the cumulative pattern of those decisions keeps pointing in the same direction. For months, Candace has been publicly and persistently questioning Erica's conduct following Charlie's death. Not just the memorial appearances and the organizational speeches, but the specific sequence and speed of major decisions.
I think I always had that girly girl hidden within me. After being such a tomboy and experiencing that my whole life, it was like, oh, I can curl my hair, I can put on the mascara. I come from a great family that has very amazing genetics, so thanks, Mom and Dad.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going, I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here. So if you're expecting to marry someone that I was blessed with, like a Charlie, you have to be the type of woman that will attract a Charlie. Are you going to church? Are you going to Bible study?
According to critics tracking this timeline carefully, there was no visible period of genuine withdrawal from public activity. No extended disappearance from organizational involvement, no visible hesitation before stepping into leadership and control. Instead, Erica reportedly moved into public-facing leadership positions, assumed organizational decision-making authority, restructured internal aspects of TPUSA, and established herself as the primary and controlling voice of Charlie's legacy. All of this happening with a pace and a comprehensiveness that people following the situation describe as inconsistent with genuine grief and consistent with prior preparation. Once people noticed that pattern, older and previously separate stories started returning to the conversation with new relevance and new energy. One of the most persistently discussed involved the leaked audio allegedly capturing discussions about merchandise and branding opportunities in the days immediately following Charlie's death, before any adequate period of public mourning had been allowed to settle. Critics described the timing as chillingly cold, treating Charlie's death as a product launch moment rather than a human tragedy. Supporters argued it represented necessary business continuity for an organization that couldn't simply stop operating. But when you place that specific piece alongside the rushed cleanup allegations, the two things together create a picture that starts feeling less like isolated decisions made under pressure and more like a coordinated response to an event someone had already prepared for.
Really handsome.
You look gorgeous. Are you fixing I got a little bacon. Babe, that's deep in there. Give them a cleavage. People want cleavage. Showcase it.
Sells, babe.
Sells. That's me.
That's against our religion.
It's not. It's within the confines of marriage.
Then came the memorial controversy that generated some of the most intense and sustained public reaction of any single decision Erica has made since Charlie's death. Critics accused Erica of approving the recreation of the tent where Charlie was killed, bringing a physical replica of his assassination site into what was supposed to be a space of grief, remembrance, and community healing. Supporters framed it as an act of tribute, a way of honoring the specific location where a brave man kept speaking despite the threat against him. But critics found it deeply disturbing, particularly when merchandise booths and photo opportunities were reportedly part of the same event setup. The symbolic weight of standing next to a replica of where your husband was shot while his supporters purchased branded merchandise around you is something people found impossible to reconcile with any conventional understanding of what grief looks like. And according to Candace, that specific tension is the larger pattern people keep choosing not to see. Every time questions start building momentum, every time the online pressure starts organizing around a specific and documentable concern, the attention somehow gets redirected toward presentation, image management, and narrative control. Something new appears in the public space that redirects the conversation.
I forgive him. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
That is why the paving story hit with such specific and lasting force, because it wasn't simply about concrete and a construction job. It became symbolic of something people believe has been happening across every dimension of this situation simultaneously. The physical covering of evidence, the narrative covering of questions, and the institutional covering of any investigation that might produce answers that challenge the official story. Dan Merrill later described the backlash he received after posting a video explaining his role and his perspective on the job. Some people accused him directly of participating in the erasure of evidence. Others believed he was simply a working person who got used by people operating well above his awareness or his authorization level. But even Dan himself acknowledged that after revisiting the official explanations and the publicly available evidence, specific things stopped making sense to him, including the described wound characteristics and how they compared to what he and others would expect from the type of rifle allegedly used at the reported distance. Those concerns from someone with no political stake in the outcome carry a different quality than the same observations coming from partisan critics, and people are treating them accordingly. Now, regardless of whether people accept every specific claim Candace is advancing, the central observation she keeps returning to is the one that people find hardest to dismiss entirely. Erica Kirk's name appears connected to every significant decision point and every significant information management moment in the entire chain of events following Charlie's death. The memorials, the leadership transition, the rapid organizational messaging, the cleanup timeline, the legal pressure around the trial, the framing of certain questions as inappropriate or disrespectful to Charlie's memory. Every single one of those pressure points traces back to the same person, and Candace is making the consistent argument that this is not coincidence or grief-driven necessity. It is a pattern that reflects either extraordinary incompetence or deliberate and coordinated control. The broader examination of Erica's public identity has also been a consistent thread in Candace's ongoing investigation. She has pointed to the version of Erica that existed before Charlie Kirk as looking strikingly and specifically different from the polished conservative Christian figure she became after entering his world. Old audition tapes, pageant documentation, reality television appearances, and leaked performance session footage started resurfacing across platforms, showing Erica moving confidently through entertainment and social networking environments that looked nothing like the disciplined and reserved image she subsequently constructed and maintained publicly. One specific leaked acting session generated particular and sustained controversy, with critics claiming it showed Erica receiving coaching specifically on social adaptability and the techniques of personality adjustment for different audiences and different environments. Some online communities began using the phrase honeypot training to describe what they believed the footage demonstrated, arguing that the skills on display were not those of an actress developing her craft, but of someone being prepared to inhabit different identities depending on what a specific situation required. None of that constitutes confirmed evidence of any operational role, but for the communities already operating within a framework that treats Erica as a deliberately placed intelligence asset, the footage felt like visual confirmation of something they already believed. Candace has also consistently revisited the Tyler Robinson dimension, repeatedly suggesting that Tyler may not represent the complete story of what happened at UVU. Critics online have built an extensive argument that Tyler Robinson was positioned as the convenient and accessible focal point for the official narrative, a person whose documented views and documented communications could be assembled into a comprehensible lone gunman story, while the deeper and more organizationally significant questions stayed protected and invisible in the background. Once that theory found its audience, people started revisiting everything through its lens: the rushed cleanup, the excavated dirt, the pace of the leadership transition, the organizational branding that preceded any genuine period of grief, the absence of emotional responses that people expected to observe, and the speed of Erica's public forgiveness of Tyler Robinson. People keep saying the same thing about that forgiveness in particular, that the speed and the ease of it doesn't match what genuine, devastating grief looks like. And the theory gaining the most traction is both simple and devastating. Forgiveness came easily because Erica already knew that Tyler Robinson did not actually pull the trigger. If you know the person standing accused did not commit the act they are accused of, forgiving them costs you nothing emotionally or spiritually. It is an empty gesture dressed as grace. Each individual detail in this story carries its own alternative innocent explanation. Construction jobs get done quickly. Grief expresses differently in different people. Organizations need leadership continuity under any circumstances. Memorial events require planning and execution. None of those explanations is inherently unreasonable in isolation. But when you stop evaluating them individually and start mapping the complete pattern of everything that happened, the sequence, the speed, the specific decisions, the specific suppressions, and the specific beneficiaries of every single one of these developments, the picture that emerges looks considerably less like random decisions made under pressure and considerably more like a managed and pre-planned response to an event that someone already knew was coming. The online community is asking the question that all of this evidence, individually insufficient, collectively overwhelming, keeps pointing toward. Who benefited from the public moving on before too many questions could gain traction? One user posted, "He found out Erica was his handler." Another said, "I believe everything Candace presents that is documented, though I separate that from purely speculative takes." A particularly pointed comment asked, "Why organize this massive public ceremony instead of honoring him privately with family and closest friends? Why was his death turned into a media event?" Another wrote, "The paving over of that crime scene was the single biggest red flag in this entire situation for me." And one comment that keeps circulating captures the legal and procedural dimension clearly. Never in history has a legitimate crime scene been legally covered and altered before the investigation was completed. What if the cleanup was never about maintenance or aesthetics? What if the memorials, the branding, the rapid leadership transition, the organizational restructuring, and the public messaging were all parts of a single coherent strategy, designed to lock the official narrative permanently in place before anyone could mount a credible challenge to it? And if Erica Kirk genuinely had nothing to hide, then why does every new piece of information about her past, her connections, and her conduct in the period surrounding Charlie's death only become visible when someone leaks footage, audio, documentation, or recordings that weren't supposed to reach the public? Those are not questions that comfortable or satisfying official answers have been produced to address. And every day they go unanswered, the community demanding those answers grows larger, more organized, and more determined. Drop your honest thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to see it, and stay completely locked in because this story is nowhere near its final chapter.